Chapter 11, verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. Now in the Old Testament, there was a law. It was part of the law that God had given through Moses. Let me just read it to you in Deuteronomy 25 and verses 13 to 15. He said, "You shall not have in your bag different types of weights, a large and a small." That means when you want to go and buy something, you take out the large weight. And when you want to sell something to someone, you take out the small one. Always working in terms of your profit. No, that was those who, you must have a just weight, a full measure, so that your days may be prolonged in the land which the Lord your God gives you. In your house, you must not have different measures, one big, one small. No, there must be righteousness in business matters. Absolute righteousness. In buying and selling, there's a tremendous amount of sin. There was a wise man called Joshua the son of Sirach, who compiled the sayings of Sirach, and it says there in that book that as a nail sticks fast between two stones, so sin sticks there between buying and selling. Such a lot of sin in buying and selling, such a lot of unrighteousness. You know that illustration that we've heard before of the righteous man who sells fish. That a righteous man who sells fish in the market will sell it like this. He'll have 3 boxes. One for today's fish, another for yesterday's fish, and the third for still older fish. Almost impossible to find anyone who will be so righteous. But that's the mark of a righteous man. He doesn't try to fool people. It's not a question of weights. It may be a question of fish. It may be a question of something else. But the thing is that when we sell something particularly, that we are absolutely honest. There is no cheating. If somebody gives you back a little more change, maybe in a shop, then to be diligent to give it back as soon as possible. Not to postpone it to tomorrow or the next day, but to return it. To be righteous in this area. The Lord hates cheating. And then you can imagine how He hates a lot of it when He sees it in people who call themselves His children, in their dealings with one another. But He delights in honesty. He delights in people who are absolutely honest, even though it means loss for them. What do we gain by making a little extra money and the Lord hates us? That's not a gain. That's a fantastic loss. No. Let's learn to get the Lord's delight on us by honesty in all business matters. Verse 2. When pride comes, then comes dishonor, but with the humble is wisdom. And that teaches us that wisdom is given to the humble people. There we find, this is almost like a New Covenant book, that wisdom is found among humble people. And if you want wisdom, mix with humble people. You'll never get wisdom by mixing with proud people. A proud person can never be wise, even if he's a Bible scholar. You meet a man who's a Bible scholar and there's a haughtiness about him. Yeah, you can be sure there's not much wisdom there. Don't waste your time hanging around with such people. Don't waste your time mingling with believers who diffuse an air of pride and haughtiness. Any type of pride. And the most stinking of the lot is spiritual pride. That's the worst type of pride there is. But wisdom is with the humble. And the more wisdom a man gets, you can be sure the more humble he is. The humblest man is the wisest man. Jesus was the humblest and He was the wisest. He was poor. He wasn't accepted by the world, but He was wise. Because wisdom is with the humble. And the humbler we are, the more we have wisdom. But with pride, as far as God is concerned, it's only shame and dishonor that God will bring to the proud. Verse 3. The integrity of the upright will guide them, but the falseness of the treacherous will destroy them. That teaches us that for sincere, integrity means sincerity, and honesty. For those who are sincere and honest, even if they are not very wise, even if they don't have much wisdom in so many things, at least to start with, they are sincere. You see, we can't all start with wisdom. Nobody can start with wisdom because we don't have it. But here's where we must start, with sincerity and honesty. And then it says that sincerity will guide you. The sincerity, the integrity of the upright will guide them into God's perfect will. The reason why so many people find it difficult to find God's will in different areas is because there's a lack of basic sincerity in their life. There's some hypocrisy, and the more hypocritical we are, the more difficult it is to know God's will, and the greater amount of time we live as fools without wisdom. So we need to begin with sincerity and honesty. That is what will guide us. But the falseness means the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of the deceivers will finally destroy them. And it's very easy, brothers and sisters, to sit in an assembly where people speak about very high-sounding spiritual stuff and to be an absolute hypocrite. I tell you, it's much easier to be a hypocrite sitting in this assembly here than it is to be out there in some Roman Catholic church. I might as well tell you that quite honestly. There's a 1,000 times greater danger of hypocrisy for people sitting here than for someone in a Roman Catholic church. And if we are wise, we'll be alert to that danger. Lord, maybe I'm in danger of hypocrisy, speaking things which are so high and it's not really true. I'm not sincere, not honest. Then it says, I'll go astray and my hypocrisy will finally destroy me. Further again, verse 4. Let me read that from the Living Bible. Your riches won't help you on Judgment Day. Only righteousness will count in that day. Now that's very clear. The first part, it's easy to understand. Your riches will not help you on Judgment Day. I think all of us sitting here believe that. And you can't impress God with our money, how much we earned. But there's a second part to it. You know what the second part says? It is only righteousness that will have any value in that day. Not Bible knowledge, not the number of meetings we attended, not how many songs we sang, not how zealous we were in the meetings or any such thing, but righteousness. That second part, also we need to understand that in the day of judgment, the only thing that will have value is a man walking in righteousness in his life. That delivers from death. Verse 5. Let me read this to you. In the Good News Bible it says, honesty makes a good man's life easier, but a wicked man will cause his own downfall, or will be trapped in his own greed. That's the next verse, verse 6. The verses 5 and 6 are really talking together about the same thing. Let me read verse 6 also. Righteousness rescues the honest man, but someone who can't be trusted is trapped by his own greed. He's speaking there about righteous people whose honesty rescues them, verse 6, and makes their life easier. An honest man's life is easy. He doesn't have to think of what lie shall I say to protect myself from this, or what lie shall I say to protect myself there, or what lie shall I say to gain something here. His life is so easy because he's only got to be honest and to speak the truth. And it'll rescue, and this righteousness rescues the honest man. But someone who can't be trusted, a wicked man, will cause his own downfall. His greed will one day trap him. And a lot of people who tell lies because of their greed. There are people who sign false statements in government offices to make a little more money and cheat various people by signing statements that are not true. And their greed one day traps them. Yeah, that's something we need to keep in mind. Verse 7. I'll read this to you also from the Living Bible. When an evil man dies, his hopes all perish, for they are based upon his earthly life. His hopes perish because all his hopes were based on what he was on this earth. That's self-explanatory.